Could eating more saturated fat be the secret to getting six-pack abs? Hi, my name is James. I'm a graduate of Michigan State University, where I studied kinesiology and earned a specialization in health promotion. And today I'd like to talk to you about how eating more saturated fat could in fact be one of the secrets to getting six-pack abs. Now, before I start talking about that, the first thing I want to say is that saturated fat does not directly contribute to heart disease. A lot of times when I talk about saturated fat, someone will say to me, yeah, James, maybe saturated fat is good for me. Maybe saturated fat will help me to get six-pack abs, but saturated fat is also going to give me a heart attack. Okay, this is not true. We now know that saturated fat does not directly contribute to heart disease, and we also know that it is your intake of carbohydrates that is actually more closely associated with heart disease risk than is your intake of saturated fat. So I do not fear saturated fat in any way. I actually know a very well-respected medical professional named Chris Kresser who eats 62 grams of saturated fat every morning for breakfast because he knows that it does not cause heart disease. So this is not something we need to be afraid of. In regards to belly fat, we also know that people who eat saturated fat typically eat fewer trans fats, and it's the trans fats that have been more closely associated with weight gain. So again, people are avoiding saturated fats, thinking that the saturated fats are bad for them, and what they don't realize is that they're eating trans fats in place of the saturated fats, and the trans fats are worse for them than are the saturated fats. And typically trans fats are found in processed foods and partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Also, we know that saturated fats cause us to feel satisfied after meals, which can curb your carbohydrate cravings. So, if you have a meal for dinner that has a lot of saturated fat in it, you're going to feel satisfied after you eat, which means you're not going to desire to run off and eat, like an ice cream or some other big sugary dessert. And it's those sugary foods and those even carbohydrate-rich foods that cause us to gain excess belly fat. So saturated fat causes satiety, which can help to curb our carbohydrate cravings, leading to less belly fat. And lastly, good sources of saturated fat include coconut oil, raw dairy products, and grass-fed meats. In regards to dairy products, your best choices there are going to be butter and cream and eggs. And again, I recommend raw dairy, which you should be able to get from a local farmer. If you can't get raw dairy, then grass-fed dairy is the second best choice, or dairy that comes from cows that were fed grass. Now, if you're serious about obtaining that six-pack look, I encourage you to check out a book called The Truth About Six-Pack Abs by Mike Geary. I actually just noticed on Mike's website that he now has a couple of free videos you can watch. One is specifically for men, the other is specifically for women on how to get rock hard abs, and I will put a link directly to this webpage below this video. So if you want to check out these free videos on how to get six-pack abs, just go ahead and click on the link that appears below this video.